Jeff from 2X Garage, back at Jimmy's, back on Jumping Jack Flash. That last video went quick because we thought something was going to be kind of a pain in the butt. Wasn't a pain in the butt because we took our time, measured 50,000 times, made one cut, and went from there.
It actually came out about twice. I measured it, and I didn't figured it was going to be bad. It turned out good.
It turned out good. That's the name of the story. But right into that last video was talking about the cowl on this. It's been a long time since Jimmy's done it. This is a completely different design. This is the video where I think somebody's going to have to call and get us a padded room. I'm pretty sure on that. It's going to drive us nuts. We both have our thoughts on how we're going to do it. But as you see here, how these body panels are, these are going to be trimmed a certain way. But we're working with a radius that's got to come up this way. It's going to have to fit these panels. There's multiple angles. This thing's not flat. You call it 4D, more like 5D. I know that doesn't make sense, but you'll see why it does make sense here in a little bit. So yeah, this is the video where we're actually going to lose our minds on building the cowl for this. Not only do we have to build the cowl for it, we need to make sure it goes with this body panel. So we're going to have to, like we did here, bead roll it. And we've only got one cowl, so we got to get it done right the first time because it was kind of expensive getting that metal and getting it formed, pre-formed like that. So yeah, with that, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to go crazy. We're probably going to argue a lot, but we're going to get this cowl done. Let me show you what we got going on. See you in a second. So here's the rough formed cowl. That's going to fit from there. It's going to go from here. You can see the shape of the engine plate. That's kind of the shape of that there, but it's got to come back and it's got to look nice and it's going to have to fit all that. How that's going to happen yet, we don't know.
Kind of looks like a stainless steel casket, doesn't
it? The stainless steel casket. Hopefully it's not. Jumping Jack Flash is going to be fast.
You're in trouble. You lost the driver.
Yeah. So Jimmy's in a very jokester mood today, considering we're building something that he says is not going to put me 6 feet in the ground, which would be nice. But as you see here, we got it rough formed to the engine plate. We do know, measuring off camera, we got to take 6 inches off this, and that's where we're going to start. So with that, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how we're going to get this cowl here to fit that. It's not a coffin. It's Jumping Jack Flash. Say hello, Dennis.
Hey.
Dennis is the guy in a video that said what we need to do is put ropes on it and make it a chariot. Jimmy says I need roller skates. Dennis says I need ropes. I think I need to learn how to drive this thing. With that, time to go insane. Let's get this cowl done. See you in a few. All right, so it's actually the next morning. That was later last night on Friday when we started doing stuff. Jimmy went ahead and cut this side, but we're kind of up against here. If you want to see here from this angle, you saw where the body panels lined up before along that angle. So what we got to do is we got to figure this part out, how it's going to somewhat wrap around just a little bit on the front of the engine plate, keep a nice angle coming back, and be able to mate it to that. So it's going to have some Zeus tabs put in here. But also probably the tricky part that's going to be is finding out the right height for this and then getting the right radius that's going to go along here. It doesn't stay flat. So that's where it's going to drive us crazy, if you want to call it. But I think we can get it. It's just a lot of work. And like I said, this is the video where I think Jimmy and I lose our minds. But with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and get to work.
No. He may lose his mind. I've done lost mine. Even knowing how to build these things.
So Jimmy's the one that's already flown over the cuckoo's nest, and I'm next in line. So yeah, it's just a lot of angles we got to work with, a lot of radiuses. I mean, it's definitely going to be tricky. Wish us luck. See you soon. So what Jimmy and I did there is, since this cowl sits on there at an angle, We put it where it's going to be, and we drew the line. Because if you notice, it goes from thin to thick back to thin over here. That's because of the angle the cowl sits on here. So that once that's cut, it'll sit straight and flush. And then what we did is we marked here and one in the middle of where we're going to have Zeus tabs. However, we're going to make our own a little bit thicker, a little bit more durable, because this thing really needs to form to that side and really hold into place. We're going to end up making a handful of these because, like, we marked one there, we marked one there, marked in the middle, and we'll put one here and there. That's really going to hold the front of the cowl on, especially at high speeds. And then once we get that cut here, get some tabs made to weld in and put on there, then we can kind of fasten that into place and start working our way back. It's kind of methodical work. We sat there and brainstormed on it. Jimmy's over there cutting some metal to make the more heavier duty Zeus fastener tab. But yeah, it's just one step at a time. I'm sure it's going to be slow going. I'm sure if I had hair, I'd pull it out. See you in a few. Right, so what Jimmy's doing, what we did is we put one of our homemade Zeus fastener tabs in that. So basically, Jimmy makes these himself. They're a little bit thicker, a little bit more heavy duty than like the weld-on ones. So the nice part about these is, if you notice, the cowl's at an angle. We are doing it at 90, and then we're bending them to the angle of the cowl we want. And with our engine plate there, we're drilling it and tapping it, and we're running fine thread bolts in there to hold it into place. We're going to put a total of 5 of these in here because that's going to be right there the strongest point of, you know, where it really needs to be held, right on the front. Need to make sure that's held down really good. So we did our first one on that to get our alignment on it. And if you look right over there, that panel is actually scribed with a marker, so we know where we're going to need to trim it. But we're not going to trim it until we get all of these right here into place. We're doing one at a time. And so once we get that into place, we'll know our angle of our cowl, and then we'll start trimming the front. And then from there, guys, is what we'll do is we'll work our way back this way when we know how it's going to slope. And that's going to determine here of where we need to do our final trim and with our bead roll. And then on the cowl, once we have that into place, we'll know where we need to put our windshield right here, because that's going to have a radius. How we're going to make the actual windshield piece, now we're not making out Lexangs, you're not looking through it, it's just really for looks and air dam, so it forces air up over. We don't know how that's going to work yet. We're just kind of winging it right now and taking one step at a time. But with that, we're going to get back to work. I'm rambling. Jimmy's over there working. We need to get back at it.
Not even too sure it's going to be a Lexan window.
It ain't going to be no Lexan window. It's probably going to be aluminum. We'll probably think of something cool to make it out of. But you know what, guys? We'll get it figured out. We're only halfway there to losing our minds, just to let you know. 2 are obviously going to be flying over the cuckoo's nest. With that, see you in a few. All right. Well, I tell you what, guys, this is part one of losing our minds. It actually went a lot better today than I thought. Like I showed you, we did make our own Zeus fasteners for the front of that are a lot more rigid. They're a lot more durable, stronger, and the way we attached them to that motor plate, it's really going to keep this cowl in place. Obviously, the front with everything going this way, you really want the front of that being held in place really well. Like I said, this is part one of losing our minds. When I come back tomorrow, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out, we know the angle of this. Actually, our chassis this way is 20 degrees, and our cowl is actually going to be 10 degrees coming up this way. But what we need to figure out from there is how we're going to get it to align with this body right and be able to connect it. So there's going to be a lot of trimming on that. And then from there, where I sit, there has to be a radius cut in that, and you make a little windshield. We got to get that done. Coming down to a really tight time frame with getting it blasted and getting it painted. But we're getting there. Like I said, my axle did ship, and we should have that in this week. Hopefully we can get that on, which isn't going to be a whole lot of work to do, but we do got to build some radius rods for that. And luckily we do have the material for that. I do have the correct heim joints and some other stuff for that. A couple items I've already painted and gotten that taken care of. But it's getting there. That was a lot of work today. I had to order some more little odds and ends that are going to come in this week to help us out. But it's getting close. It's getting really, really, really close. Probably in the next few days, you'll see a video coming out. What I'm going to do is show you all the performance goodies we got that are going to go into the engine. I know I said at one point 302 cubic inches. Well, that's changed. I'm not going to say exactly what it is until that video, but it's going to be a pretty healthy engine. And that video is going to be pretty exciting. It's kind of like a big show and tell of a bunch of really cool parts and pieces. We'll be building that hopefully here pretty soon too. Jimmy and I, over the winter time, we did the machining on the block, got all that taken care of, so that's done. So this is the end of part one of losing our minds with body panels. And tomorrow, well, I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, we'll be in that padded room. Till then, guys, stay crazy, stay safe.
I'll give you a hint. Slant 6 Dodge.
Slant 6 Dodge, yeah. Jimmy says
Tower of Power.
Jimmy says we're going to go the Slant 6 in this. So not only is there training wheels on it, there's going to be a wheel on top. Dennis said ropes, but it's going to be Slant 6 powered. Absolutely kidding. You guys are going to like what's going to go into this engine. But this is a very intricate part of it. Like when I said 5D, 4D, it kind of makes sense now because you have so many angles, radiuses, you name it. Luckily, we're working with aluminum, and it's quite malleable, it's quite bendable, and it's very forgiving. With that, we're going to go crazy again tomorrow. So until then, see you next time. Later.